It won't ask you to run. It will simply ask you to be ready. This phase is lonely in a very specific way, and that's why almost no one talks about it. It's not the kind of loneliness that comes from being rejected or abandoned. It's the loneliness that shows up when you can't fake enthusiasm anymore. You're still around people, you still show up, you still participate, but something inside you refuses to perform. Laughing on cue feels forced. Reacting the way people expect feels dishonest. And yet, nothing in your life looks wrong enough to explain why you feel so far away from everything. That's what makes this phase so isolating. You don't have a clean story to tell. You can't say you're heartbroken, or burned out, or lost. On the outside, things look fine, maybe even better than before. So when people ask what's going on, you hesitate, because you don't have language for it yet. And when you try to explain, it sounds vague or ungrateful, even to your own ears. I'm not sad. I'm not depressed. I'm just not there anymore. That sentence alone can make you feel misunderstood. What hurts most is how often people expect you to snap out of it, to get motivated again, to remember who you used to be, but that's the problem. You're not who you used to be, and pretending otherwise feels heavier than staying quiet. This isn't a breakdown. It's a refusal to keep performing emotions you no longer feel. And that refusal can feel incredibly lonely because it separates you from the version of yourself everyone else still recognizes. Outgrowing the act is lonelier than wearing it, but it's also the moment you stop betraying yourself. A lot of people mistake this phase for emptiness, but real emptiness doesn't feel like this. Emptiness is flat. It's quiet. It doesn't question anything. What you're experiencing aches because it's honest. The discomfort comes from seeing clearly for the first time without anything softening the edges. When the usual distractions stop working, when excitement feels forced and motivation feels artificial, you're left face to face with a truth that was always there, but easy to avoid. And that truth can feel heavy before it feels freeing. What starts to hurt isn't the lack of feeling. It's the realization of how much of life was lived on autopilot. How many things you chased because they looked meaningful from the outside. How many conversations you stayed in because they filled silence. How many goals you carried simply because they gave you direction, not because they gave you truth. When that awareness hits, it can feel like the ground shifts underneath you. Not violently, but subtly enough to make everything familiar feel strange. This is the moment where clarity shows up without comfort. You're no longer being carried by momentum. You're no longer numbed by routine. You're seeing your life without filters, without noise, without emotional padding. And when that happens, it becomes impossible to feel excited about things that never actually mattered to you. Not because you're cold, but because your inner compass stopped lying. Honesty hurts when it arrives after a long time of pretending. There's a quiet grief in realizing how much energy went into sustaining versions of life that didn't fit. Not wasted, just misaligned. And grief doesn't always look like sadness. Sometimes it looks like indifference. Sometimes it looks like stillness. Sometimes it looks like losing interest in things you once thought defined you. That doesn't mean you're disconnected from life. It means you're finally disconnected from what wasn't true. This is not numbness. Numbness is absence. This is presence without distraction. You're feeling less because you're seeing more. And once that happens, the mind doesn't let you go back to caring out of habit. When awareness arrives, enthusiasm for the fake disappears first. That's not a defect. That's discernment turning on. There is nothing wrong with feeling nothing toward paths that were never yours long term. There is nothing broken about outgrowing excitement that was built on pressure,